COP21. That's the UN climate change conference that Canada sent 300 delegates to. And at that conference, the Alberta government went there to proudly unveil its new climate leadership strategy. That's the climate leadership strategy that includes the carbon tax. And Rachel Notley says these things will convince the world to buy our oil. Here.
At the center of the climate strategy is the carbon levy, a price on carbon that will serve as an incentive for consumers and businesses to reduce their carbon emission. Every penny raised by the carbon levy will be rebated back to Albertans or put back to work for our economy in new economic initiatives. 6 out of 10 Alberta households will receive the full rebate, and all Albertans will benefit from the economic investments that the carbon levy will support to diversify our economy, to build new green infrastructure.
Really? Because China cares about whether or not we've taxed the local greenhouse, a carbon tax on their natural gas? Seriously, that's what Rachel Notley would have us believe? Anyways, through Freedom of Information filings, I've received back some of the expense claims for some of the Alberta delegation. And I found some interesting charges in the expense filings for the 5-person delegation that went with Minister of the Environment, Shannon Phillips. Now, I haven't seen the Premier's delegation's filings yet, but I bet those are pretty darn interesting. The charge I found was for carbon offsets. Now, carbon offsets are a made-up thing like monopoly money for environmentalists. It's a made-up currency. If you're an emitter and you can reduce your carbon emissions, you can get a credit and then sell that credit to people who can't. And you can buy carbon offsets to feel better about your opulent travel. It's like a guilt remedy for fancy people with too much money and not enough good sense. It sort of reminds me of those old-timey, made-up snake oil tonics sold to gullible people at county fairs from a fast-talking salesman in a sharp suit. Carbon offsets don't actually reduce emissions. It's just buying indulgences and feel-goodery and shifting guilt. And the Alberta delegation, or some of it, to COP21 charged their carbon offsets for their travel to the taxpayer. They charged 5 carbon offsets at $110.40 a piece to Alberta Economic Development and Trade. Now, I get it, $550 charged to the taxpayer as part of a multi-$1,000 trip doesn't seem like much in the grand scheme of things, but some things really are about the principle of it all. As a taxpayer, I don't want to pay a dime to help the NDP feel morally superior about wasting tens of thousands of Alberta taxpayer dollars to promote their climate leadership strategy. And that strategy we now know the NDP delegation at COP21 knew, according to their own documents, would cost 15,000 Alberta jobs. I guess it costs $110.40 per person per transcontinental flight to be able to sleep at night. Let's be practical. Carbon offsets, besides being simply a tithe to the Church of climate change, are basically a carbon tax on travel. And if the NDP think it's appropriate for me to pay a tax on my travel, so can they. Lead the way, NDP. Pay your own carbon tax. You can afford it. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.